What do you do when you finally built your first application, but you don't have any customers? Cold email is one of the best ways to get started, get those first 100 customers, and get some revenue for your app. It's used by small companies all the way up to Fortune 500 companies in their sales process. But most people don't know how to use cold email effectively. And if you don't set things up correctly, your emails can go to spam, or worse, the domain that your app is on could be flagged as spam, and then all of the normal emails that you want to send will end up in people's spam folders. And what makes things even more complicated is the best practices for sending cold email are constantly changing. I just spent 20 hours researching the most up-to-date best practices of sending cold email, and I'm going to share it all in this video. You're going to want to make sure you watch the whole video, because if you miss any of these steps, your emails will go to spam, and you want to make sure that you're following all of the correct laws around sending cold email. We're going to cover 3 steps. First, getting your domains and how to set them up. Next, what platform you can use to actually send your cold emails and what are some different options there. Third, what are some tools to get leads to send emails to? And then how do we structure our cold email so that you get responses? There's a lot to cover in this video, so let's get started. First thing we want to do is make sure that we buy separate domain names so that you're not sending your cold emails from your official normal website domain. So if your domain is x.com or whatever the domain is, you don't want to send domains from that. You want to get a similar domain that's different. So for example, if the domain is cloudflare.com, you want to purchase domains that are something like getcloudflare.com or cloudflarehq.com. You want to buy alternative domains. You want to forward those domains to your main domain. So if anyone enters in your different domain, it redirects to your website, but you don't want to send from your actual website's domain. The reason for this is if you send from your actual website's domain and then that domain gets flagged as spam, all of the normal transactional emails that you want to send are going to get marked as spam as well. So that's really important to do. Make sure that you are setting up your emails in the right way. To do that, you can buy those domains from any domain registrar. I recommend using Cloudflare. They're one of the most affordable ways to do it. You can just go and purchase domains, create an account, set them up. So you could use Cloudflare. You could also use Namecheap or any domain registrar that you want, but Cloudflare would be the one that I would recommend. Now, when you purchase domains, you want to think about how many cold emails you want to end up sending. So there's some math involved here. So here's a little spreadsheet to help us calculate this. So you don't want to send more than 30 emails per day per inbox. So we have emails per day per inbox. Then you have domains, so the number of domains. And then we have number of inboxes. Now, an inbox per domain, and I'm going to show you this later on, but let's say you set your domain up. The domain is google.com. An inbox is like tom@google.com. That's an inbox. Another inbox would be tomsmith@google.com. That's a second inbox. So you really only want to be sending email from really maximum of 5 inboxes per domain. Now you can do less if you want to be safer. The reason is that if one of the inboxes in the domain gets marked as spam, then potentially the other ones will also. So a safer way to do it is to do less, but you can do up to 5. Let's use that as an example for now. So let's say, you purchase 5 domains. You're going to have 5 inboxes. You're going to send 30 emails per day per inbox. Then we can just do some simple math. So we're going to do, 5 inboxes times 5 domains. So we have 25 domains sending 30 emails per day. You're not going to want to start with 30 emails per day. You want to work your way up to that, but it's going to eventually be 30 emails per day. So then that's 750 emails per day that potentially you could send. That times 30, potentially you could send 22,500 emails per month. Now, if you want to be safer, you only send 15 per day per inbox, then you're down to around 11,000 per month. But you can see how it adds up if you have a lot of domains to be able to send them out. And the less emails per day you send, the safer it's going to be, and the less likely that you are going to be marked as spam. And there's other things that you can do to help prevent that. But overall, this is kind of how the math works out. So that's why you want to go to Cloudflare, purchase your domains, and then we're going to go on to the second step. Okay, so you might be wondering, I purchased the domains. What do I do next? How do I actually send these emails? So there's 2 different options that you have here. The best practices are to either set up your domains under Google. So go to set it up in a Google admin account. And this is what that is, literally the Google admin console. So all you have to do is create a new account, go to admin.google.com, create a new account under one of the domains. So one of the domains, and then they have instructions actually to connect it to Cloudflare. So it's really easy to link up your domain with Google with Cloudflare. So that's another benefit of that. And then once you have set up your first domain with Google, then you can add your other domains as additional subdomains in your same admin account. So to do this, all you have to do is when you're in your Google admin account, you go to account, domains, manage domains, and then you can add a domain. It's actually called a secondary domain. You want to do that under your Google admin account. You do have to pay as a user for each of these domains. I do want to also recommend with Google admin, go into your billing and make sure you're on the lowest payment account, because sometimes by default, they'll set you as a higher billing account. So you want to go and set it to the lowest billing account, but you want to do this as a secondary domain, not as an alias domain. So you want to set it to secondary domains. You can do add and start verification, and that same thing, Google gives you specific steps of how to connect Cloudflare there. So pretty easy to do all that. And you want to do this all on a separate Google Workspace than your existing, if you already have a Google Workspace for your company. So you want it to be separate. So all your email domains are going out separately. Then once you have added all of your domains, we're going to add the users. So to do that, all you have to do is go to menu, directory users. Then you just click add new user. You add their name, you set up their email, and you choose the domain. That's as simple as that. So you would just choose the domain, add as many inboxes, up to 5 per domain that you want. And then that's all you have to do for the actual inbox, and then Gmail will be created automatically for the user. So that is how I set it up with Google, but you also can set this up with Microsoft Outlook as well. That's just not something that I've done before, so I can't vouch for exactly how that works, but I know through my research that setting it up through Outlook is another best practice. Now, you can set up your email domains through something like Zoho email, something like that. It's a little bit less expensive, but from what I've read, the deliverability is going to be worse. So you want to optimize for the best deliverability, meaning the most emails that are going to go into as many inboxes as you can. Because if your emails don't go into inboxes, then no one's going to actually be able to respond to them. So before you move on, there's 3 very important steps that you need to do to make sure that you optimize your deliverability for your domains. So this is a step you need to do for each domain, and you want to go into Cloudflare and go to your DNS settings in Cloudflare. So that way you can customize the DNS settings. So for this, what we have is basically SPF something called SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. I think that's the right way to say all of those. It's possible that it's not, but those are the 3 things that matter for making sure that you set up your email correctly to maximize your deliverability. So Google has specific instructions on how to do all these things. You can just search Google, set up SPF. And if you go down, it's just telling you exactly what you have to add to your Cloudflare DNS settings. So it's a text record, you add the @ sign, and then you just copy this. It's all you have to do. And this is, again, these are instructions for Google Workspace. You could look up instructions for Microsoft if you wanted to do that, but then this is the value. And you just have to do this for every domain that you have. It's possible that this is also done automatically if you are with Cloudflare and once you connect it to Google Workspace. But if not, it's really as simple as just adding this text type with the @host and then copying exactly what it says here for each of them. So that's the first thing is SPF. You need to make sure that's set up. Then the next thing you need to do is set up DKIM. Google also makes this really easy to do. All you have to do is go into your Google admin account. Then you're going to go to Google Workspace and Gmail. You can also go to this help page and then just click on this link directly. Then you click authenticate email. You select it's going to look exactly like this. You select your domain. It's going to give you a record to add to your Cloudflare DNS settings for that domain. So it's a text record again. It's going to give you the host name, which you copy and paste, and the record value, which you copy and paste. Then you click start authentication, and it's as simple as that. So you literally just add that and then start authentication, and then it is just going to add it to your domain. So you have to do that also for all of the domains that you own. And then finally, the last step is setting up DMARC. You can search for this and again, copy and paste exactly like I'm doing, but you have to add these in your DNS settings of your domain on Cloudflare. You just have to go down to, it's another text record. The value should be, it's exactly this, but instead of example.com, you replace that with your domain name. And then it's giving you exactly what to copy in. This is what you copy. Just change this to your email. And it sends you DMARC emails, basically. It's essentially giving you reports on whether your emails are passing this authentication. So you just need to send that, put in an email that you can actually receive those reports. So those are the 3 things that you need to do. And then if you want to verify that everything is set up correctly, just Google test DMARC SPF DKIM. And there's plenty of online free tools that you can click to run checks for each of them, just to make sure that it is all set up correctly. So once you've set all of that up, there are 3 different tools that I'm going to go over right now to help you actually send your emails. So the first is Instantly. Instantly allows you to connect your inboxes, and then you'll be able to set up sequences and actually send out your cold emails. So for example, if we go to outreach here on the product, you can see you can basically just connect your emails and then send them out. And they also have AI features, things like that. One thing I want to talk about before we continue is email warmup. Email warmup is something that Instantly offers. And basically what happens is they will automatically send emails from your email inbox to like a warm-up email list. They have like 100,000 emails that they own. You'll send to one of them. It'll reply like 20% of the time. It does this to kind of make Google think that your email is real, essentially, and being used. Now, what I've read, this is something that's changing all the time, and you should definitely do your own research on all of this. But from what I've read and researched, this is a bit of a marketing gimmick for Instantly and some of these other tools right now. And from what I've read, it doesn't fully work. Google kind of knows about this now. And then the bigger risk is that one of the emails in their group of email warmups that they're using to send emails back and forth to you is flagged by Google as in this pool, and they're going to know. So what I read is it's actually safer to just not warm up your email, but just start sending out emails slowly. So don't start with 30, don't even start with 10, maybe send 2 a day to start, then 3 a day, and kind of slowly work your way up instead of doing this email warm up. So that's what I read lately as the best practice. But again, do your own research. But that's what I recommend. So Instantly is a tool. I would say Instantly is relatively easy to use, and the pricing per month is for outreach is you can start with $30 a month to upload 1,000 contacts and send 5,000 emails monthly. The next tool I recommend checking out is Smartlead.ai. Offers many of the same things that Instantly does. They also have email warmup with the same caveat that I shared before. Their pricing is a little bit, it's just a little bit different. I think it ends up being a little bit cheaper based on how much they're giving you per month or per year. But it also seems to be a really good platform for my research. People online like both of them, so feel free to check them out, and I think both of them have free trials. The one option that's a little bit different is GMass. So GMass is a tool that you can connect to your Gmail account and send emails directly from your Gmail account. And they have a feature called GMass Multi-Send, inbox rotation to distribute a campaign across multiple email addresses. So what this lets you do is set up multiple email addresses so you can link as many of the Gmail accounts as you want. So this is another reason to go with Gmail instead of Microsoft. This can't be done with Microsoft. But what you can do is set it all up. They also have a way to respond to all the emails in one place, which they have a tutorial for. If I scroll down far enough, here it is. They have something called the Reply Project to see all of the inboxes in one place. Now, the benefit to GMass is first, it's a little bit less expensive. And also, from my research, you're sending the domain from the emails from Gmail's servers directly, which may help with deliverability. Whereas if you're using Smartlead or Instantly, you're sending it from their servers, and that could potentially have lower deliverability. So just something that from my research I came across. So GMass is a great option, especially if you're setting it up with Gmail. Just one thing to note is the UI is a little bit harder to use with GMass, so there's a little bit more of a learning curve, but it could be worth it if you want to go that route. Okay, so at this point, if you follow all of the instructions, you have your emails set up correctly, and you need to have leads to actually send emails to. So I'm going to give you a couple ways to get those leads. So first, there's a platform called Apollo. Now, Apollo also has the ability to send out emails from their platform, so you can look into that, but they also have the ability to use it just to actually get leads and not send emails. And you can even use it for free to get up to 1,200 credits per year. So with this, you can kind of set up and the job title you want, the type of company you want, the city that you want, anything like that. And it gives you a list of names, company, email, that kind of thing. And then you can export that and put it into one of the tools I talked about before to actually send the emails. There's also a tool called Clay, which is a really cool tool that also allows you to get contact information. And one of the things that I really like about Clay is that it has this thing called AI enrichment that basically will do like online research to find more information about the leads that you want. For example, it could do, find research about like the latest blog post that the company has written, which you can then use to, customize the emails that you're sending to the actual user. If you do a little bit more research, you'll find plenty of other ways to get contact information. There's a lot of companies that offer the ability to get leads. So there's a few different things I've came across in my research when sending out the emails that you should keep in mind. First, after you get past 3 emails in a sequence, you don't want to keep sending like 10 emails in a sequence, because if someone hasn't responded in 3 emails, they're not going to respond after that, most likely. You're only going to start annoying people. So it's best after like 2 or 3 emails, just wait for a few months and then try again with different messaging. People are not going to remember that you emailed them 3 months ago, but it's much better than just sending them, a bunch of like 10 emails and just getting on their nerves. You also want to make sure that you're constantly testing your messaging. So you can have different sequences with different messaging to find out what works best. That's something else to keep in mind. If you're going to use AI to personalize your email, don't go too crazy with it. Try to make it really subtle and just like actually like a real human would do. If it's kind of obvious when you get a cold email that is written by AI, and no one likes that. So just keep that in mind if you're using AI to write your emails. You need to make sure that you have an unsubscribe link on your email. That's really important to stay compliant. And you also want to make sure that you have an address for your company as well in the email. Those 2 things are really important to stay compliant with the laws in the US right now. I'm not as aware of the laws abroad, so think you should do your own research. And also these things can change, so make sure you do your own research as well before sending out cold emails. But you want to make sure that you have an easy, one-click way for people to unsubscribe and have your address there. And I know that's for sending within the United States. A few other things that you need to keep in mind is to not use deceptive subject lines. So for example, you can't say, open this email for $1,000. You can't say your company is going bankrupt, things like that. You need to have your subject line match the real offer. And then also, if they do unsubscribe, you need to make sure that you honor that. And that's something that using all these platforms allow you to do. So it's important to make sure that you have that set up. Usually you just insert an unsubscribe link in all these platforms to make that happen. For the actual content, I recommend trying to have your email be pretty concise. Try to address what problem you're solving for them. And then as a call to action, I like to ask for a short phone call and see if they want to schedule a phone call. So again, it depends on the product and service that you're selling, but that's how I think about it with cold email. Okay, 2 other things that you should know. First, I generally have seen it recommended to turn off click tracking and open tracking. The reason for that is I think those things can kind of trigger spam folders potentially. So it's just safer to turn those off, even though you don't get that data. But something that you should keep in mind is you should be looking for at least a 1% response rate on your emails. So if you're not getting at least a 1% response rate, then you should start thinking about how to change your messaging. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to get more free AI, no code, and business advice from this channel. And leave a comment below if you have any questions. If you want to build your own AI or no-code apps, but don't have any ideas, I put together a list of 59 validated AI business ideas. There's a link in the description. Click that link, enter your email, and you'll get that list for free. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.